Hello, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals and how to be better at becoming entrepreneurs. And Justin Breen is with us today. He is a real cool guy. He's the founder and CEO of the global PR firm Brepic. Am I pronouncing that right, Justin?
Yes, you are.
Brepic. I didn't know it was Brepic like Breen, but and his exclusive connectivity platform, which is the Brepic Network. His first book, Epic Business, is an international bestseller in 6 countries, and it might even be more than that now. And his second book, Epic Life, which features a foreword from Dr. Pia Diamandis, releases this summer. And it's summer, so is it almost done? Is it almost ready to go?
August 23rd.
Cool. So that's not far.
Yep.
Awesome. So Justin, tell us, first of all, let's start off with you telling me telling all of us what sort of inspired the epic, if I can call it the epic journey or this.
Yeah, it's a good starter question. I always think it's funny when companies spend like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars coming up with a name and branding, and that's fine, by the way. I was a journalist for 20 years. And then, both companies are named Brepic, and then there's Brepic scholarships, and Brepic sponsors my son's youth baseball teams and leadership awards. And so as a journalist, I just like saying the word and writing the word and getting the word epic in headlines all the time. And then BR is the first 2 letters of my last name. So in April of 2017, my wife surprised me with a really nice trip to a resort for my 40th birthday. And on the way up, I'm like, I'll just start a company, call it Brepic. And then here we are. So I just think it's funny. And
wow.
Create something from nothing and then just, create 2 global companies that only partner with top folks in the world, or the ones that'll write the check to become one of those people. So it's very interesting.
Absolutely. But that's how it starts. I find I get most of my good ideas when I'm on vacation.
So that's an interesting take on that. I haven't thought about it. I know you interviewed an expert with Gallup Strength Finders within the last year, Gallup, GALLUP, or Clifton. And there's 34 of them, 34. I'm 32 out of 34 in ideation. So almost dead last in ideation. And that's actually a strength, because I know if it's a good idea, my top 3 are activate, maximize, achieve. So, that's a really good idea. And then most of my days talking to the top ideator futurists on the planet, they're just all over the place and they can't. So I'm like, that's a good idea. Activate, maximize, achieve. That's a terrible idea. You ruined your life for this. I'm not going to do that. That's very simple. Yeah, that's just a litmus test from talking to ideator futurists.
And they need a litmus test. Right? It's so easy to come up with ideas. That's what I find. Like, I have a gazillion ideas a day.
Right. So you're an ideator and it's like idea. And I'm like, no. Oh, that's good. There you go. Intro. So that's why, I haven't done anything outbound or no sales gimmicks in years. I just have, top visionary introducing me to top visionary. So it eliminates business owners and consultants and all that stuff, and attracts top visionary who wants to change the world. And usually, not always, those people are ideators who are all over the place. They don't know what to focus on. So.
Yeah, it is. It's a curse. It's a blessing and a curse to come up with ideas all day long.
Right. 100%. So ideator futurists with a mix of, again, this is Gallup Clifton Strength Finders. Yeah. Most of my day is talking to ideator futurists. So top 5 to top 10 with ideation or futurist. And then they have a mix of activator, maximizer, achiever in there as well. So they're often idea land, like wherever that land is, but they'll do something about it now. Because if you have all these ideas and don't do anything about it, that is definitely a curse. I mean, that's a tortured. But and then so again, I'm almost dead last in ideation, very low in futuristic, very low. But top 3 are activate, maximize, achieve. So immediately simplify for an ideator futurist who will actually do something, and then immediately activate, maximize, achieve. Result. And so I'm very thankful to them, and they're very thankful to me.
Absolutely. But so how do you help people, Justin, to take those 300 ideas that we came up with in the shower, right? And turn that into like, which one of these, what's your filtering process?
Yeah, so I was a journalist for 20 years and created first company based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. So I actually don't know what PR firms do. Sorry for doing that while you were drinking, because you might have spit the water out. But so then maybe it's coffee. But so I hear blah, 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 blah. And then immediately, oh, that's good. Simplify, simplify, simplify. And then here's a 500-word story. And then intro to media, intro to media, intro to media. It's very easy. Yeah, right.
So it's just something just tickles your head. And
immediate. Yeah. As a journalist, I wrote 2 to 3 stories on deadline every day for 20 years. So that's like breathing for me. It's easy.
Right. And that's a big challenge for people, I think, like
100%.
not just trying to create all this content for social media, but to try to know and social media and media, print media and other types of media, but also to know what people want to hear. Right. I mean,
100%.
there's this whole thing like, oh, I'm going to put out, I'm doing that right now with my other podcast with my team. Like, okay, let's put out a bunch of different types of content and see which ones resonate with people. And
you're an ideator. Yeah. And by the way, you have a mix of activator, maximizer, achiever in there because you're actually doing something about it.
Right.
The other one that I thought was interesting, the guest was ready, fire, aim. Which I always laugh at people that are ready, aim, and then never do anything.
Right.
And they're just overthinkers. And I just don't talk to those people because they're the ideators who don't do anything. So that's a pointless conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Right. So people like you really like me, regular humans who don't do anything in terms of changing the world. They have no idea what I'm talking about. And I don't know what they're complaining about. It just makes absolutely no sense to me.
So you're driving to vacation and you get this idea, hey, I'm going to start this gigantic, at the time, maybe you didn't say I'm going to start this gigantic global company and I'm going to change the world, but
no, of course not. No.
But what was the next step? So, you enjoyed your vacation, presumably, and then you came back and said, okay.
Yeah, that's another good question. Good follow through. So most folks would choose this life where they see their family whenever they want to. They make as much money as they want to. They do what they like to do, and what they're good at. They hang out with only the people they want to. Most people would choose that. Okay. Right. But to overcome that, I still haven't met one entrepreneur at the highest level that hasn't overcome at least one of the following 4 things. Most are 2 or 3. And then as it's gotten up higher on the ladder, it's all 4s, a lot of all 4s. So here are the 4 things that separate entrepreneurs from humans, consultants, business owners, whatever that world is.
Yep.
Here are the 4 things: bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, 2, depression, 3, the highest level of anxiety that you can imagine, and 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So most people use those as excuses their whole life. Entrepreneur at the highest level, figure it out.
It's fire. Okay. Yeah, it's fuel.
It's just fuel, right? Okay. Yeah. So if you actually have met a person that has, and when I say a person that is top global visionary that has not overcome at least one of those 4 things, please introduce them to me because I've never met one. I don't think I will, but okay. So with that background, I'll give you the timeline. February 10th, 2017, was working full-time as a journalist, had a 5-minute meeting at office, had job salary cut in half. Next couple of weeks, tried to find a job, couldn't find a job. Then my wife surprised me with that trip. So that was April 10th was my 40th birthday. Incorporated April 16th, 2017. So while I was working full-time at half the salary, from April 16th to about June 1st, reached out to 5,000 people to find first 5 clients. So 1 out of 1,000 said yes. Got 5th client, I think on June 2nd, resigned next day. And then June 5th, Robert Feeder, he's a top media columnist in the Midwest, did a story had started my own firm. So that was just a start. Most people can't do that. But someone who's born to do that, that's just entrepreneur life.
Well, so let's start back. Let me back you up to this, because I know there are a lot of people, right? There's a lot of people who are just like sitting at their job saying, I hate this. I've got more, blah, 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 right there. They've got,
there's no excuses. No. So they can sit there all they want, but if they don't do anything, then it's a point. Then no, there's no, you'll either make the investment and execute, or you'll make an excuse. So most people sit at their desk and make excuses their whole life. Again, that's what separates entrepreneurs from everyone.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
But do you think you would have made the jump right then if you hadn't had this job
No.
change?
No,
Yeah.
but eventually
Would have.
to directly answer that question, no. However, you're either born someone like me or you're not. I'm very convinced of that. So eventually
Yeah.
something like that would have happened. And I mean, I was born to be this person. I can go into depth with that if you like more like knowledge behind that. But again, I just strongly feel like people like us are usually aliens within their own family, community, and vertical. Nobody understands us except, nodding your head, except top entrepreneurs on the planet. So I was an entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist. Journalists who are journalists had no idea what I was talking about. And I never understood if it bleeds, it leads, or political news, or I've never understood that ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you know which 5,000 people to reach out to?
Yeah. So when I was a journalist, and I still am, but I had a giant, social media following. So basically everyone on that list. But no, I mean, I had zero business background for, went to college for journalism, not for business. I still don't know what an S corp is because I think that's funny, but I didn't know you had to pay taxes 4 times a year. So I was just reaching out to anyone I could. And, 1 out of 1,000 said yes. So it was.
So what were you saying to them? You're like, hey, I started this business. Want to be my client? I mean, did you know exactly what you were going to be doing at that point?
No, God, no. So that's no, I mean, so there again, my brain simplifies into patterns. I don't know why it does that, but it just does. So when you first start it's a series of patterns. So when you start a company, it's get to get. So I was, strictly reaching out. Hey, can I help you with social media, press releases, anything that I thought might be valuable. So then you grow, this is the evolutionary step. A lot of folks stop at get to get. They never get past it. Then you get to give. So you're mostly giving a little. Definitely most business owners stop at that. Then you get to give to get. So you're mostly giving, but you're really trying to get a little. Then in that, 99.9% of the world stops at that. Then you get to the level that a true visionary is at, and it's give to give, but only to the people who get it. So I'm constantly giving, but only to people who get it. Because if you give to someone who doesn't get it, it damages someone who doesn't. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, that was more direct. But it's a waste. It's a waste of time for that person because they don't get it. It's a waste of time for the person who does get it because you're like, why are you wasting my time with someone who doesn't get it? So I am interested to see if there's that 5th level where you just give to give.
Everybody.
Yeah, and maybe there is, but it's like more of like, you're hurting your relationships with people that do get it. And I strongly feel that changing the world people do not want to, they want to only hang out with changing the world people. Maybe their employees or, they will talk to their world folks, but the true the world people, they want to hang out with the world people. I'm pretty convinced of that.
Well, of course, because for every reason that there is, for every reason you'd want to be with anybody, because those are the people they enjoy, the people who get them, the people who are going to make 100%. An impact, the people who are going to, right? I mean, you can talk to people in the grocery store line, but it's just not really going to be the same kind of experience that you're going to have when you sit down with somebody who really shares your vision and
100%.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And the purpose of my life is to be a connecting superhero for every visionary, abundance, investment mindset entrepreneur and share their stories with the world. So that's usually the overwhelming majority of the time, that person, you're not going to run into them in the grocery line. I mean, you could. That hasn't happened yet. Maybe it will. That'd be interesting. I mean, that hasn't. I'd be shocked. Yeah. But no, I mean, so, and then the other thing to that is not always, but usually global visionaries like me marry stabilizing humans. Like my wife is a pediatrician. So she's love, empathy, warmth, rules, whatever. And thank God for that. But because otherwise it's not all of it. Many times it's just a disaster because there's no balance.
Yeah. So let's take a little detour and talk about networking in general, why it's so powerful, why everybody needs to do it, and how, you're obviously doing it at this 100x level, but just like a regular human.
Well, okay. So my brain simplifies into patterns. So if you have the right mindset, it attracts the right network and that creates the right opportunities. Okay. So I mean, you're either born like this or you're not, but I just work on my mindset every day, and that just attracts top people on planet. And then they make opportunities for me, and I make opportunities for them. Okay. So, okay. So, because that's a fair question. The first group I ever joined was, I think it was $200, $250 a year. I'm still in that group because I'm loyal. No one understood what I was talking about, but that's okay. And then I joined a 500 a year, then 1,000 a year, then 2,000 a year, then 5,000 a year, then 10,000 a year. Now I'm in two that are 25,000 a year. I'm probably going to join a 50,000 a year. And okay, so that's the thing. But I didn't start out at 25,000 a year. I started out at 250. Okay.
Right.
So it was never a cost. It was always an investment. Always.
Right.
And then, in some of these groups, every now and then they'll make like a Facebook post or a social media post, like, when your company's doing well, what do you invest in? And a lot of folks put like employees or new office. And I just wrote invest in myself. Because that's
Right.
So to simplify it the most, like the network is the best investment in yourself that you can do. But it all comes down to having the right mindset where, that attracts the right people. So it just happens the only people that understand what I'm talking about are the top entrepreneurs on the planet. They're the only ones I can help.
Do you think so? Is it more of a network or is it more of a mastermind?
That's a landing the plane question, and usually those bother me, but that's a good one. That's a good one. It's both. But I look at all, like the two I spend most of my time in are strategic coach. I'm very confident saying that's top entrepreneur group in the world. It just is. And then the other one is Abundance 360, led by Peter Diamandis. He wrote the foreword for my book. I'm very, very grateful for that. At the level I'm at, I don't care about revenue at all. Most people do, but at the level I'm at in A360, the overwhelming majority of folks are running or high level executives within 10 million to $10 billion companies. And if I'm not in a room like that, I get very bored. So there's a lot of tools and things like that in there. I look at all of these groups as a collaborative platform. I look at all of them as networks, but there are mastermind components in them for sure. Yeah. So I hope that wasn't too complicated, but I look at things a lot differently than a lot of folks. Like a lot of folks are in there for the tools or here's how you grow your business. I look at everything as just a collaborative platform of the right people.
Yeah. Well, to me, a networking thing is it's more about like, who can you introduce me to? Whereas a mastermind, I think of as more like an idea platform. Like, you sit around a room and somebody says something and that sparks something else. It's just, that's the way I look at it. Maybe.
So that's a really interesting take. If it's the right network, then the right ideas will take place. So the collaborative platform leads to the correct idea generation or the correct idea simplification. That's really what it is. And then I think that's why I just look at everything as having the right people in the room. So to simplify that even further, because this is what my brain does, I just keep making bigger investments to be in smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impacts. So it's the same formula: bigger investment, smaller room, people in those rooms making bigger impacts. So that allows me to spend biggest investment in the smallest room, which is my family, where I can make the most impact. So it's the same formula. Yeah.
What do you think is the most, so when you're looking at this journey for your entrepreneurial, first true entrepreneurial endeavor.
Yeah.
What do you think was the most surprising or impactful, or like what's like really, because I feel like you just sort of said, oh crap, lost my job. Okay. Now I'm going to just start this business. What's going to happen? And then it just kind of kept evolving, right? It just kept like growing and evolving.
That's the exciting part. Yeah. It's just always, so most of my days talking to the top entrepreneurs in the world. I never get tired of that. It's always, and then okay, that's a fair question. That's a really interesting one. I would say the most surprising thing is that I was actually one of those people. I just didn't know it until starting. If you would have told me someone like Peter Diamandis is writing the foreword for my book, he's one of the top entrepreneurs in the world. He just is. Forbes ranked him one of the top 50 entrepreneurs in the world. So, if you would have told me I'd be creating a SaaS platform with someone I've met one time in person, my partner's in San Francisco. we do everything virtually or on the phone. But
yeah.
I mean, if you had told me that, when I had job salary cut in half, I would not have believed it. But you're either born like this or you're not. And
Right.
if you are, then this is what happens.
Yeah. I'm interested in why it took so long for you to leap into entrepreneurship.
Because I loved what I was doing.
Yeah.
And nothing has changed at all so again, I was an entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist.
Yeah.
And so as a journalist would write about cool people changing the world. And I had a really nice job where I got to see my wife and 2 young sons all the time.
Yeah.
So there was nothing to change. And then now write about and connect cool people changing the world. So nothing's changed at all. I mean, except to have more time with my family. And it's obviously more lucrative than journalism career, but there was no, the phrase no incentive, like no alternative. I mean, that's what happened. But I firmly believe that would have happened eventually. In journalism, that's what happens.
So on a smaller scale, people who are making that leap and they need to make some connections and they need to be engaged with the kind of energy that you are having and that you're getting from your people who you're communicating with. How can they find them? How can they go and how does somebody begin if they're like, all right, look, I can't do this myself. I need to get out there. I need to meet people who get me. Because I don't think it's the easiest thing in the world. I mean, you had those 5,000 people, right? And somebody who's been working in their basement, right?
No. So again, if someone's thinking like that, they're just making excuses. So you go again. I never looked at joining the $200 a room, $200 a year room as a cost. You just, why don't you do it?
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand. Like, that's what separates entrepreneurs from people that don't do it, is entrepreneurs will do it. So you either can do this or you can't. Most people can't do this. That's why they're in jobs, which is fine, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's
somebody has to be in jobs.
Thank God. If everyone was like me, it'd be anarchy, it'd be chaos. I mean, entrepreneurs are the very most damaged people with the best coping skills. I mean, that's what a true entrepreneur, the most damaged with the best coping skills. And they're rule breakers and troublemakers. If everyone was a rule breaker, I mean, my wife is literally everything thank God, because she's a pediatrician, so you don't want her breaking rules.
Breaking rules.
Thank God there's more people like my wife. I mean, that would not be so, but no, in terms of like someone afraid to go out and meet people, no, they're not. That's not an entrepreneur.
No, I don't mean afraid to meet people. I mean that I think there are people who are like sort of trapped in a world where nobody understands them and they don't know how. I mean, it's easier now with social media, but they just don't know how to like find and connect with people who are like them. I mean, right. Maybe that's not a thing, but
I mean, again, you join the room and if no one understands what you're talking about, then you just join a better room.
Yeah.
It's the same formula, bigger investment, smaller room, bigger impact. So, I mean, the new company I created, it's just an invite-only connectivity platform for top entrepreneurs in the world, or someone who will write the check to become that. So they won't be afraid to join it. They'll just write the check. Right. So that's what separates. That's it. I mean, there's no, at the highest level, there are no excuses, only investment. So people that make excuses, which by the way, overwhelming majority of society, then they're not global entrepreneurs, which again, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Excuses and alibis. That's for sure.
Right.
So tell me about the first meeting that you had with like your topmost level networking group. Like the first time that you sort of said, oh, right, I'm in the right room right now.
Okay. So that's a good one because I can predate the actual first meeting. And so this is the value of being in the wrong room. And this is what happens. So I was in a $500 a year group. It was fine. So I had lunch with somebody, it was at a Whole Foods, and we had a conversation like this it was a nice lunch. And so I'll never forget. The guy goes, you know what? I have no idea what you're talking about, but the guy who runs my company does. You'll really like him. And so he introduced me to him. The person he introduced me to is his name's Gary Klaben. So Gary's a true visionary. He graduated first in his Army Rangers class. He's most at peace when he's driving 200 miles an hour. So the first conversation I had with him, he's like, "You're not $500 a year group. You're 10,000 a year," which was strategic. He's a coach and strategic coach. And he's in Abundance 360. He's like, you're like, you need to be in those. I'm like, okay. So I just wrote the check.
Yeah.
Just wrote the check. So, and then I'm like, oh, finally, so I'm in a room where people understand what I'm talking about. But I never would have found that person if I hadn't been in the wrong room where someone didn't understand what I'm talking about.
And who was courageous enough to tell you that?
Oh, yeah, because people either really so now most people understand what I'm talking about. But at the beginning, it was like, people like me are usually aliens, so they had no idea, but they might know someone who did.
Yeah.
But again, people like me, to quantify it, maybe 1 out of 1,000 globally. I think it's actually smaller than that, but let's just say it's 0.1%. And so most people are like, oh, that's a small number. Like, no, you're not living in abundance, because if there's 8 billion people or so, that's 8.1% is 8 million. So 8 million is a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Absolutely. It takes time to find them. But once you find them, pretty easy after that.
Yeah. But it's like pulling the string, right? You like, okay. I mean, it sounds like that's what you found this person.
Again, someone who's sitting in the office. Right. So if you're sitting in the office, not doing anything, you can't. Yeah. So that's the ready, aim. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. What kind of questions do you think people should be asking themselves? Like,
yes. I don't, ask myself questions. I'm a full activator. If you're having to ask yourself that type of question, that's, again, like, so I'll give it. So when I was born, my dad was 61 and my mom was 27. So
oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, right. So big difference. And then my dad was he'd be 106 if he was alive now. And he was a World War II hero, shot down 8 or 9 times in combat, many times without a parachute. So he died when I was 13. And so he would say, when I was like maybe age 5 to 13, when I had a functioning brain, he would say every day, the cream rises to the top, the cream rises to the top. So that's the first chapter in my new book. So I just partner with the cream that rises to the top, or the ones that frankly won't ask themselves questions like that. They'll just they'll do whatever it takes to rise to the top. Okay. So that, and then my mom was 27 in his late 50s. A drunk driver hit my dad, crossed the highway median, hit my dad head on. Drunk driver was killed instantly. My dad broke every bone in his body, but he survived, because you don't make excuses, you figure it out. And then my mom was his nurse. So she literally, that's how they met. And so most of my days talking to the top entrepreneurs on the planet. I still have not met one that has overcome more than my mom, has more hustle than my mom. So my mom is the ultimate hustler in a good way. So I'm just I'm just a combination of that. But I just think if you're asking yourself questions instead of taking action, because the only way to learn anything is to do something. That's the only way you can ever learn anything, is by taking action and making an investment in something. You can't learn
making a mistake, right? I mean, you can't.
Well, and I don't even think it's a mistake. It's more of like, you just learn, oh, that didn't work. I'll just do this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what life really is. And most people are miserable for they're, again, simplifier and a pattern. So I think there's 2 reasons most people are miserable from a work, if you want to call it a work standpoint. Yeah. One, they never find out what they like to do and what they're good at. So imagine doing something 8 to 10 hours every day, 5 if not more days a week, that you don't like to do or not good at. That's terrible. Okay. And then 2, this is the ready, aim. you actually do find out what you're good at and what you like to do, and you never do anything about it. I mean, that's terrible. So I know what I like to do and what I'm good at. I knew that when I was a journalist. So I just kept doing that, and then now here I am doing the same thing. So none of this is work. This is all fun for me.
Yeah. See, maybe you don't know what it's like to work, right? You don't know what it's like to have a shit job where
no, I mean,
that's by design.
I mean, that was 100%. That's by design. Yeah. Why would you want to do something that you don't like to do and what you're not good at? I don't even, again, that's never a question I would even have, like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then business owners are just trapped within their own stuff that they're not good at and don't like to do. Entrepreneurs they're not changing their world people. They're changing the world people. Yeah. So that's endlessly, yeah. Why would you want it? I can't understand why you'd want to do something or complain about something that you're not good at or don't like to do. That makes absolutely no sense to me. There's no question there. It's just, don't do it. Don't do it. Right.
Well, but you acknowledge that some people have some fear of just.
I mean, again, and entrepreneurs are, again, highest level of anxiety you can ever imagine. They just don't use it as an excuse. So you already said it. It's just used as fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What do you want me to ask you right now? What kind of things do you want to talk about and tell people? I mean, I'd like to give, right? If you want to give to people who might not be ready to get, but.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, journalist for 20 years, I never came prepared for any interview other than, tens of thousands of interviews, right? So the only questions I ever always asked were, who are your parents? Because if you know where you come from, or grandparents, if you know where you come from, then you know where you are, you know where you're going. But it starts where knowing where you come from. Most people actually don't understand where they come from at a high level. So they have no idea where they are and they don't know where they're growing. So it starts where you come from. And then always would end every interview with, is there something else I should be asking? Basically what you just asked. Because many times, someone wants to say something, but they were never presented in a way where they could actually say it. So that's a compliment to you. That's a good Thanks. Question. Yeah. So it's always a good way to, but I mean, it's such an interesting journey of life. If you actually do something, if you actually write the check, if you actually take action. And I talk to so many entrepreneurs that have let this life destroy their family life or prevented them from ever having a family. Hundreds of million in the bank, if not billions, and miserable. And they're trying to replace they're trying to replace meaningful measurements with material measurements. And I have learned you can't do that. And so I can't tell you how grateful I am to be able to spend this much time with my wife and then my sons who are 9 and 8. It's just the greatest. I'm just very thankful for that, because I know what it's like not to have a dad around. And so to have all this time with my sons, I'm just very grateful for that.
Yeah. But we can talk about that a little bit, about this kind of categorically bad relationships in the entrepreneurial space, right? Because, yes. And I don't think it's an accident. I think that same,
no.
That same trauma that fuels you to be 100%. Successful and to prove something to yourself and to the world is also shit for relationships. Right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, that's literally, so again, entrepreneurs are the most damaged people with the best coping skills. So they take all that damage and they cope with it by building massive companies, but along the way, the family just gets, so there's two things with that. There's two things. I put my Kolbe score in there, KOLBE. So 8671. 8671. So it's a unicorn score. I still have not met another one. So I'll just start with the middle two numbers. The 7 is quick start. So that's boom, 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 boom. it goes 1 to 10. Most of the people I talk to are 8, 9, or 10. So they're true visionaries. And then the 6 is follow through, which for a global visionary entrepreneur, that's insanely high. A 6 follow through is, most of the people I talk to are maybe a 2 or 3 follow through. So they're ADD diagnosed or undiagnosed, which is not a disorder. It's a sign of genius, but most people label it. So those are ideators that are all over the place. And if they don't hire 1 million people, nothing will get done. So because I have a high quick start, high follow through, it's much easier for someone like me to focus on things that actually matter, meaning my family, purpose in life, not having 3 million ideas that never get executed. It's not like that for me.
Yeah.
So most of the people I talk to are like 3, 3, 9, 3. So they're 9 quick starts with 3 follow through. They're just all over the place. So they change the world, but they have a very hard time focusing on family, because they can't focus on anything. I'm able to focus. So, but when you talk to enough people that have destroyed their family life for this life, again, because very low in ideation, whether it's a good idea or bad, I'm like, that's a bad idea. I won't do that. So activate, maximize, achieve, not doing that or not being like that. And then new book is called Epic Life. And the subtitle is How to Build Collaborative Global Companies While Putting Your Loved Ones First. And everyone's like, oh, wow, you can do that? I'm like, yeah. Hello, I'm right here. I see my family and I'm building collaborative global companies, doing what I like to do while putting my loved ones first. I'm like, wait, you can actually not destroy your family or not have I'm like, yeah, here you go. So that's why I wrote it. Like, that's because no one ever talks about that. They talk about how to scale or how to, they never talk about that. I've never seen a book that talks about their family first, ever.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But family's not exciting, right? You don't go to a meeting and say, oh, I just, had this great time with my family.
I open every meeting with that, every single one. So it's funny because, again, most of my days talking to the top entrepreneurs and like, oh yeah, I raised this and
I bought this and I
just got a plane. And I'm like, they're like, what are you up to? Oh, I just went on a baseball trip with my sons. I took them around the Midwest to 5 games in 5 days.
That's fun.
I do that and again, like, you don't go into journalism for employee count, office space. You don't do that.
Right.
That's why I never would have, I never would have left it if anything, but if something would have happened, but yeah. So I'm very thankful for that and very thankful for never taking a business class. So I wasn't like damaged with all this stuff that I don't care about anyway. And then what happens is, because I've seen it over and over, people start out as true entrepreneurs, right? They start out as true entrepreneurs and then they get trapped into being business owners and they're not, they don't
It's
care.
not their forte.
No, They don't care, but they think it actually matters and it doesn't.
But I think also, I don't know, part of this damaged background is you have to prove something to the world, right?
100%. So that's great, but I want to prove something that I'm a good dad first.
Right. Exactly. Right. Well, that's it. It's just changing the bar, changing what we're measuring people on.
That's 100% correct, and it's a fascinating thing. It's a lot of it. When it's not family first, a lot of it is ego and vanity because you're trying to prove something. And I've learned that making more money actually leads to, like, the end of 2018, I'd made more money than I ever thought possible in a year. And I'd never been more miserable in my life. So I'm like, okay, well, glad I went through that.
That's not it.
Well, that didn't, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. So I'm like, okay, well, now I know, but I'm glad that happened. So.
Well, part of that though, is because we're designed to it's not the achieving of the goal, right? It's going towards the goal. So once you get the goal, it's like, there's like a deflation. Is that all there is? Like, okay, I did that. Now what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right? You have to keep raising the bar.
Well, especially for an ideator, because I've had 5 great ideas in 5 years, so 5+ years, so maybe 1 a year, maybe. And so, I don't get tired of achieving those ideas. I never get tired of living purpose of my life and spending time with my family. So, but, Man's Search for Meaning, that's number one. That's the number one book I've ever read. If anyone has not read Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, there's I guess a female version of that called The Choice by Dr. Edith Eva Eger. They both survived the Holocaust and wrote about it. Dr. Eger's still alive. Viktor Frankl's not. But both the books talk about if you don't have a bigger and better future, then you're just dead inside. Yeah, nothing, right? So that's the key. So it's, you achieve your goals or whatever, then you create a bigger one. I mean, so I started a second company. I'm like, oh, this is just technology for what I'm already doing. And wrote the check and found the right partner to do it. So you just do it. You don't overthink it. You just do it.
Right.
So that's fun. I mean, that's what makes life interesting. And then again, when you partner with this certain type of person, they allow me to spend time with my family, which is that's what I want more than anything. So, and if someone wastes my time with excuses, then I can't help it.
Yeah.
All done. Right.
Yeah. So is there anything that scares you?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, anything happened to my wife that's number one. My wife taught me how to say thank you. She is the most wonderful parent. If anything happened to her, that's the number one thing. There are 2 books. The first thing I do every day is do a grateful journal to her, what I'm grateful for her. That's the first thing I do every day. Done that for a long time. Without her, not a good situation. And then the books, like people write these long acknowledgments, which I always think is funny. It's like multiple I mean, mine just says thanks to my wife because without her, I'm in a ditch. I mean, it doesn't say that. So that is what terrifies me to no end.
How did you meet her?
We met online in 2004. And our first date was the day before she started medical school. So if anything's comparable to this life, it's medical school. And I always tell people, and she does too, that I got her at her weakest moment, most vulnerable, day before starting medical school.
You don't think you'd have a chance now?
No. And people meet my wife and they're like, it's confused. My wife's like, she's really smart. Like I'm pretty smart, but she's like really smart. She's super sweet, loving. She's really pretty. I mean, she's just this, think of the opposite of like me. And then it doesn't make any sense, but I guess it does. But and then one of the 5 good ideas I've had, great ideas in 5 years was, we never date. You don't date someone in medical school. And then we had kids. You don't date doctors. And then so in 2018, right before 2018, I'm like, oh, we should go out once a week without the kids. That's a good idea. And she's like, we can't do that. I'm like, well, no, I'm Activate, Maximize, Achieve. We can't do that. So we did do it. And then we became international dating experts. We were on the Today Show. And
oh, wow.
Yes. So that was a good idea. And then got a huge social media following for that. But and then we still go out every week. Now we go out once a week without the kids. So.
Yeah. Why did she think it wasn't possible?
My wife?
Yeah.
Because she's not a visionary. My wife's a human. Yeah. Because and then it's to go out once a week without kids. With our kids at the time were 5 and 3. So and then became 6 and 4. So I mean, when we would start posting every week on social media, and then people without kids were like, "How do you guys do this? We never even go out. And we don't even have kids." Most people don't prioritize the relationships they don't.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
That's true. So where I asked you what you wish I would have asked you, kind of, which is usually my closing question. So is there one thing you can tell people who are listening that they should do right now or today that will have a positive impact on their life?
Yeah, I mean, take action. I mean, what can you do right now where you'll actually do something? It can be a small thing, but hey, I wanted to reach out to this person. I haven't yet. Let me send them a message. Or, hey, I need to join this group. Been thinking about it.
Yeah, that one. So you're saying they already know what the thing is. Now they just need to do it.
I would think almost everyone knows they need to do something. It's just, are you going to do it or not? So,
yeah. Is there anybody, is there a type of person who would be listening who you would like to hear from or connect with or whatever?
Oh, they'll know. They'll reach out to, they'll know. So what happens is they're like,
I need to talk to that guy.
But if it's helpful, I'm guessing you can put in the show notes, but on the main company site, there's a mindset scorecard survey. It takes like 5 minutes. People really like taking it because they're like, I'm here with this mindset, but I'm not here with this. I better do something about it. But people actually qualify or disqualify themselves with the right mindset or wrong mindset. So it takes 5 minutes to do.
Yeah. Before I let you go, let's just talk a second about mindset, because that's everything, right?
Right mindset attracts the right network, creates the right opportunities. Yeah.
How about a book or a tip or something for people to kind of get themselves into a better mindset?
Well, again, Viktor Frankl, that's Man's Search for Meaning. So if you survive the Holocaust and you're not complaining about life and you're, then if you have, so that's right. I mean, that's
what have you gone through that's worse than that?
That's
right?
the ultimate. So that's why, that's my, again, my dad got an airplane multiple times without a parachute, got shot down. He wrote a diary about his fighting the Battle of the Hurtgen Forest. I found it after he died. It was a very deadly battle. And so what he overcame, it's certainly not as bad as Viktor Frankl, but the things written in that diary, it's just horrific. Yeah. And so, figure it out. He became an attorney in the Nuremberg trials. Figure it out. But, I just work on, if you're either born like this or you're not. Again, I'm very convinced of that.
Yeah.
But if you are, then you can work on your mindset every day. So I do the Grateful Journal every day for my wife. I run outside 6 days a week, no matter the weather conditions. So Chicago, hot, cold, windy, rainy, horribly snowy, whatever. I've done that for 20 years. And then I listen to shows like this, feeds your mindset. And then 5 days a week on LinkedIn, do a Grateful Journal. Pretty big following there. And so right when I'm grateful for, I'll include this interview in that. But
thank you.
Welcome. Right. Exactly. Thank you. And then, so if you're constantly grateful, it's hard to be ungrateful. It's pretty hard. It still creeps in, but it's pretty hard. And then that gratitude attracts gratitude and eliminates people that don't do anything. Yeah.
And that's the best. It's the definition of good marketing, but it's also the definition, I think, of a good life, is to attract what you want to attract and repel the rest.
Well, that you just said it is, if a good life. So I have not met one person that has a good family life that has not had a good life. If you meet someone who has a good family life and has not had a good life, please introduce me to that person. Because so it's whatever marketing is, I don't understand it, because as a journalist, that stuff annoys you. But if you're just living if you're living who you're supposed to be, that attracts the people that are also living in who they're supposed to be. And if you want to market or whatever to people, to a certain sector in the housing market, or you want to attract dentists who are dentists, I don't know, whatever that, I just like to hang out with people changing the world who will do what it takes to do it. So and because that allows me to do what I want with my life. That's really what it is.
Right. And on a much smaller scale, right? I'm a real estate agent, and people are like, oh, I got to get on Zillow and I got to do this. And
you're an entrepreneur who happens to be a real estate agent. You're not.
Right. That's true. That is true. Because actually I'm sitting in this
commercial. You are not a real estate agent. Oh, okay.
Thank you. That is a nice compliment, Justin.
You are not a real estate. No, Real estate agents don't act like you do.
I'll take that as a great compliment.
That is a compliment. Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like I never look for clients. My clients give me other clients because I don't want grouchy, shitty clients who are going to make my day miserable. So because of that, I have time to do podcasts and I have time to live this life that I want because the right clients just come to me and we have a great time and, we see cool houses together. And then, it's not, there is no marketing, I guess, is a lifestyle is what I'd say about that. Attracting the right people into your life for whatever reason is just how you live your life. It's just how it is. That's my new decision.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. So all these gimmicks and stuff, it's fine. That's great. I just rather, I know who I am and I know who I'm not. So it's important to know who you're not first, and then you can figure out who you are.
Yeah. But I hope you put that in your gratitude journal, though, the fact that you realize that, because people spend half their life figuring that out, or their whole life.
Their whole lives, they never figure it out. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
100%. So good. We're off to good starts with our lives.
I'm glad you called it a start. I just turned 59 and I do feel like it's just like, whew, every day is like a new unfolding. I love it.
Why wouldn't you feel like that? Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, so I don't even say the word retire. My wife can't wait to retire. It's funny, but no, why would you do that? That doesn't even make. No.
I'm kind of already retired from that perspective because I'm not like going someplace for someone to pay me, but this is what I do for fun, right? In my retirement.
Right.
So.
Yeah, this is all fun for me.
Exactly. So you're already retired. Don't worry.
Oh man, no. Well, I mean, from human society, I am. It's kind of funny, actually. That's a good point. I actually we're like, we have evolved from. Yeah, we've evolved from like whatever most of the world is living in. That's why when you interview Jerome Myers, you take the red pill, right? Because that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Justin, thanks so much for being with us. I'm going to put all your contact info in the show notes so that 1% of listeners who like, oh man, this guy's really cool, I got to connect with him. We'll do that.
Well, you probably hang out with him. I'm guessing people that see these houses are probably all like that, I would think.
Not all. No, there's some regular people out there who I interact with.
I'm sure there's some.
But they're all really nice. That's the thing. They're all really nice and happy and grateful. And that's
good. Yeah.
That's my limiting criteria.
Yes. Awesome. What a great interview. Thank you so much.
Justin, that is a huge compliment. Thank you so much. I love talking with you.
Ditto.
Thanks. Let me set this off.